Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I'm Ginny Robertson, the host of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, where I talk with real women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet. I'm also the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. My guest is author and retired dentist, Dr. Dora Vilk-Shapiro, and we're talking about what happens when life inspires action. Welcome, Dora. Thanks for being with me today.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here.
Well, as I mentioned, we're talking about what happens when life inspires action, and specifically how you were inspired to write a children's book. And this was not your first book. You've also written the Chatham series, 3 books that you sometimes refer to as naughty romance novels under the pen name Doris Vilk. So Rupert Winston's Gotcha Day is quite a shift in subject matter and audience, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. It's almost like what happens after the Chatham series. The consequences of,
Yeah. Well, I just had this idea. I wasn't going to ask you this, but since we're talking about inspired action or how life inspires action, what inspired you to write the Chatham series? The series, I know you've said that Doris Vilk is like your alter ego or something. Right?
Okay. Well, the Chatham series came about because it was when 50 Shades of Grey was, really popular. And, I always had a romance story in my heart from daydreams from when I was in college, because I was a real science geeky nerd, wanting to go to dental school. And I had this romance story in my head, and, 50 Shades was big, and I was very friendly with my hygienist. And when I read 50 Shades just because, I couldn't understand why some of my friends loved it and some hated it. It just made no sense. So I wanted to read it. And when I read it, I fell into I like that naughty stuff club. And so my friend Sharon gave me other authors to read. I read them, and I told her about my love story that I had in my head. And she's like, that's a really good story. I would read that. So she encouraged me to write it. And because we were both reading these, what I call naughty books, R-rated books, if there was a rating on books. And whereas Rupert is definitely G-rated. But anyways, so I sauced it up, and the next thing you knew, I had a trilogy of a story of a couple and their, romance that gets a little descriptive.
That's a great way to put it. You're really such an excellent storyteller, though, Dora. You really are.
Thank you.
And so since we were talking today about how life inspires, what happens when life inspires action, I just wanted to ask that. So you kind of got this, you were curious.
Yeah.
Kind of following your curiosity.
Yeah.
Then you started talking with a friend, and then you started telling her your ideas. She goes, oh, I would read that. And so you were inspired by that.
I was inspired to write it.
Yeah. And I think that's really, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later, about how we, I guess, can know when we're being inspired, or we're just where it's just that other new shiny object kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Not everything is coming from inspiration.
Yes.
But you were inspired to write Rupert Winston's Gotcha Day when your daughter-in-law, Nicole, and your son, Jordan, rescued a puppy.
Yes.
What came out in January, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And so why a children's book, and why this year? What inspired you to take this action?
Okay, so I always wanted to write a children's book. When I first wanted to be a dentist, I wanted to be a children's dentist. And even though I ended up not being a pediatric dentist, I was a family dentist, although a lot of my practice, I saw a lot of pediatrics because I enjoyed it. I always thought I would write a children's book, but that it was going to be a dental book. It was going to be like Berenstain Bears goes to the dentist. It was going to be my version of oh boy.
You're good.
Hopefully that doesn't interrupt. I have a call coming in and I have no idea how to go away. Anyways, so I always thought I'd write a children's book about a kid going to the dentist, but my daughter-in-law and son adopted this puppy. They had gotten married and it was during COVID. My daughter-in-law was an event planner and a wedding planner. So imagine during COVID, she was furloughed. There was nothing for her to do. My son was an oral surgery resident, so he was gone like 24/7. She was lonely. She wanted somebody like a guard dog for when she was home alone. And they decided to go rescue this puppy. And she would send me pictures because she was home. I was home. It was COVID. Everything's locked down. And she'd send pictures of the puppy all the time because I couldn't go. I love animals. And I've had 2 dogs myself, but my husband, he doesn't want another one now. And I really love animals. So I was really into getting the pictures every day. And I would post them on Facebook and I would write, I used to love this show. I forget what, if it's Animal Planet or Discovery Channel. It's called Too Cute. They would do stories of puppies or kittens. And they would, same thing. It'd be like videos of the puppies and somebody would animate it and make up stories about it. So I started on Facebook putting the pictures of my new grand puppy, and I would make up like vignettes about it. Like, oh, Rupert got a Frisbee. What's a Frisbee? Like he likes the tag. And I would write these little things. And all my friends, I noticed that when I would post those, that's what was getting the most comment and stuff on it. So I don't know. It just hit me like people are enjoying this talking puppy. And so I started to think that I was going to write this book about Rupert. But then I realized, it dawned on me, like I always wanted to do a children's book. And the best way to do it would be to really, yes, it's from the puppy's point of view, but to make it more about a real kid's book with illustrations and all that. So I ended up picking my favorite, and that's why I listed Nikki as the co-author, because without her pictures, there would be no story. Yes, I'm kind of the writer, but yet she's the one that made these scenarios happen or send me the pictures of them. And the next thing I knew Sabrina Fajardo from another women's networking group. She's an excellent illustrator, and a neighbor and friend that I had in the building had published a children's book, and she had used Sabrina to illustrate her book as well. And I just fell in love with that, Sabrina's illustrations. If I can just like show some of them, they're just so super colorful. Like honestly, it could be art to put in your, on your walls. And I just love the way she draws things. And she's a friend, plus, so we collaborated and we just started to put this book together, and here it is.
Here it is. So let's talk a little bit more then about, well, first of all, before we get off track here, I want to know, how can our viewers purchase the Rupert book?
Okay, so Rupert Winston's Gotcha Day. This is what it looks like. It's sold only on Amazon in print version. It's $10.99. It's geared towards like little ones, I would say elementary school age, to read by themselves, or little ones like babies or toddlers for the parents to read to them. And Rupert does have his own website and Facebook page and Instagram page that have links. And his Instagram and his Facebook is under Adventures of Rupert Winston. But the website has a link that will take you right to Amazon. So the easiest way, just like with my Chatham series books, I did the same thing. The website doesn't sell the book, but it'll link it right, take you right to Amazon. It's rupertwinston.com, and that's RUPERTWINSTON.com.
And how about the Chatham series, in case people are curious about that? What's the website for that?
Okay, the Chatham series website is Doris Vilk. That's D as in David, ORIS, V as in Victory, ILK.com. And same thing from the website, there's links to all 3 books on Amazon, and the Chatham series you can get in an ebook or a Kindle, and those are like $12.99 for print and $2.99 for the ebook.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's talk a little bit more about being inspired to take action. Have there been other times in your life when you've been called to do something? And
Everything, really.
everything. Do you wait to be inspired, do you think? Are you good at waiting to be inspired to take action? Or do you sometimes jump in without being really inspired?
No, I think I wait. I think I notice. I go, if you really pay attention, what I found is the universe tells you what to do and when to do it. Because like with the Chatham series, the fact that so many things had to come together, like, you know, I was a dentist, but my hand was bothering me, and I could see that I was going to have to retire early because my health challenges were getting in the way of me performing the way I wanted to. That this movie 50 Shades came out, that my hygienist that I happened to be friendly with, that we both kind of like we both like reading, we both like storytelling, we both like romances that had, but in that genre, there's a lot of books out there, and some of them are just about the sex. And you know, my book and some of these other books that Sharon and I enjoyed are not all that. In fact, one of my friends who does not like reading about that stuff, she bought my books and she just skipped over those pages. And then I have another friend who's all about that, and she just highlighted those scenes so she could just go and read that.
For inspiration,
you know?
right?
So you know what, whatever floats your boat, it's
exactly.
all good, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like breadcrumbs, I guess, isn't it? Like the universe just kind of drops breadcrumbs. And
it does. So at the same time, like with the Chatham series, you know, it's also mostly a prison story, especially the first book. And Orange is the New Black was so popular on TV. Netflix was getting real popular for streaming, people binging on shows. And my husband, who I had also told some of my story that I had come up with in my head, we're watching Orange is the New Black, and he's like, this is a lot like that story you made up. And I go, you're right. In fact, some things were so similar. I'm like, people are going to think I just watched or read Orange is the New Black and copied from them instead of that. This story was in my head for like since college, you know? And at my age, college was a lot of years ago. A lot of years ago. So, yeah.
So, Dora, it seems like the theme here with both books, and probably for a lot of your life, has been that you pay attention. You kind of notice when you're drawn to things, you notice, and you also notice when something, like you take a step and then there's another opportunity, right?
Yes.
Because if some of those things hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have written either of them. No.
When I was 10 years old, I fell off my bike. Had I not had that bike accident, I would have never been a dentist. So that started the dentistry.
Did your teeth get messed up in the bike accident?
Yes. And I had to have a lot of stuff done. And back then, dentistry isn't what it is now. And I spent like so much of my childhood in dental offices. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. So, and that inspired me to become a dentist. Wow. So everything kind of, and then not being able to be a dentist anymore kind of inspired me to go into writing. And then being a dentist, trying to communicate to your patients, you know, I would make up not make up stories. That doesn't sound right. I would make up like stories to illustrate, to help the patient understand.
Like a scenario of some sort.
A scenario of the dentistry, what they needed. So
Yeah.
for example, if someone needed several teeth done and they're like, oh, but just this one broke, why can't you just fix this one? Why are you now telling me I need a whole bunch of stuff? And I would say something like, well, it's kind of like your car with tires, for example. If all of a sudden you decided, you know what, I have an SUV, I don't want the small tires, I want the bigger tires. It makes you ride up higher, makes the car ride smoother. I go, you can't just decide, oh, I'm gonna buy one big tire and the other little tires. Your car's gonna ride like this. So I would say, okay, you're gonna change the one tire. You end up like changing all four. I go, that's kind of what's happening in your mouth with your teeth. I go, if we change this one, if we want to make it proper with the problems with what else is going on, then you have to do this. Otherwise, you're not going to be balanced. So I realized that I was storytelling all along, or with the little kids. One great example was I had a little kid who probably had ADHD. You know, that we didn't have those diagnoses back then. And he came in and was trying to fix his tooth, and he's wiggling all over the chair. And I'm like, how am I going to fix this kid's tooth? Well, again, life can inspire you. He had on a camouflage shirt. So I realized, I go, oh, are you an army soldier? I go, you know what? You're in the jungle and the army, the enemy is after you. I go, you got to be very quiet and very still, because if you move around like that, the leaves are going to make noise and the enemy's going to know where you are. That little boy sat so still, and I just took that drill and went as fast as I could work. So even that, the kid's t-shirt inspiring me to make up this story to be able to do the dentistry properly for this little boy, you know. He was a great kid. He just couldn't help it. He had ADHD. Or I know that now. We didn't know that then, you know. Yeah.
I love all the ways that you have been inspired and you have taken action. Do you ever look back, or can you look back at your life and see a time when you maybe weren't as inspired, but in looking back, you go, I kind of wish I'd pursued that more? Does that ever happen, or does it mostly?
Wow. I would say yes, because I wasn't, even though like I'd given a lot of examples of times that I realized even at young ages, I was inspired. I didn't, you know, when I was younger, I was more afraid. I didn't always take actions. I let limiting beliefs get in the way, especially as a woman, like choosing a man's field. Like looking back, I feel like my dental career could have been a little bit different had I had more confidence and followed taken action and followed like some of the inspirations I did have at the time that I never took action on. So I would say as I've gotten older now, I pay closer attention to those little I like to call them winks from heaven, like little things that'll happen that you'll be like, I really like that. I'm good at that. Like maybe I should do that, and I guess we all do. We all are guilty of that, right? Like we see something, we might get inspired, we think we have the answer, and we follow that path, and we forget to look that, wait a second, yes, we're hiking on this path, but are there some other paths that might take us to an even better place? We get so set in our ways sometimes. And I guess that's like something that I've been working on, is to look at how do we get more inspired and to open ourselves up more so that we don't let those limiting beliefs get in the way. And like you're doing the 100-day, whatever, I think today's what, day 5 or something in that, for the women that are doing that challenge that Ginny has. And if you're not doing it, it's not too late to join in, because that's part of that even when you evaluate, like, wait, what am I doing? Wait, no, I'm supposed to be doing something else, and to be open to that.
Yeah. So I'm going to just kind of tie it all together if I can, because you took me right where I wanted you to without me
Oh.
asking. Thank you. So that we all get inspired, or we all have opportunities for inspiration. We don't all get inspired, though. We all have opportunities. Things come into our lives. We see them differently, maybe than somebody else might see them. We judge them, and then we do something with them. And sometimes we do nothing. We push it aside, or we make up a story and say, oh, that's not for me, or I couldn't do that. Or sometimes we'll jump too quickly, maybe, and jump in and really discover, sometimes in a really painful way, that really isn't mine to do. But I think what you're saying is it started to come together more for you when you started to pay attention, to actually notice what's going on around us. And I think it's challenging to pay attention if we're not feeling confident. Because if we're not feeling confident, we're kind of like wondering, how am I doing? How's everybody else? What are they thinking of me? Right? Without actually being present and going,
That's
oh,
right.
that
Or
person
pushing it away.
Someone pushing it away. Absolutely.
Presenting something to you, and you push it away before
Yeah.
you've even taken a look at what it might be. You just decide, oh no, I'm not going to do that, when that might be the best thing you ever did.
You make up a story about why it won't work. So for
Yes.
anyone watching this who's thinking, well, I never get really inspired, it's like, well, I would imagine there's a bunch of stuff coming into your life and you're just not paying attention. We can't see the
Absolutely.
signs if we're on our head, if we're worried, if we're anxious, if we're scattered and running and rushing and just doing too many things at one time. We have to get quiet. We have
Yes.
to be centered. We have to be open to understanding. And then when we start to see those things and something resonates, and then we go, and then we take a step. And we don't always know what the step's going to be, because you just had a conversation with somebody. That wasn't a planned step, right?
Yeah. No, and like with the Rupert book, when Sabrina first said to me, okay, you want illustrations, what size pages, what kind of children's book? Is it a board book? Is it like for a toddler? Is it for elementary school? I mean, I had no clue. But if you're following the steps, then it's like, okay, so I started reading different children's books and started to pay attention to which ones I enjoyed. And that led me to realize that how I was writing for Facebook wasn't the book that I was going to write, eventually publish. And so my little vignettes that I write for Rupert, which I still like to write, and now I use them on his like Adventures of Rupert Winston, Instagram. Well, Nikki does the Instagram. I do the Facebook, because that's my generation. Instagram's hers more. And so I still write about Rupert. I used to be Grandma Florida, but now that they've moved to Florida, and now that I have a human grandchild as well, then I'm like Mimi. So now it's like, okay, Mimi's coming instead of Grandma Florida. But yeah.
Well, here's what I think is really important that you said. You said a lot of important things. If you had gone into this starting to think first about, well, what size book? Well, what kind of book? Well, how many pages should it be? All that, you would talk yourself right out of it, wouldn't you? It would be overwhelming.
Totally.
Because
I
you
would
were
say I don't know
inspired.
anything about this industry, and I can't write a children's book. What am I thinking? I just wrote and the other thing was, I just wrote an erotic series. I don't want to be a story on Inside Edition TV. So I had to even think about, okay, wait, let me write it under my real name. Let me put Nikki as the first author, so that when people look it up, it comes under that, and it's less likely to mix up Doris Vilk with Rupert Winston. And then again, couldn't sell it under the same website. I had to go get a whole other webpage, buy a whole other domain name. Like Rupert had to be kept separate as much as I could,
And so I think that's the real takeaway here, is that if you have an idea, if you have an inspiring idea, but you jump right into how am I going to do it, there's a much greater chance that you won't, because inspiration you want to latch onto. You want to be so inspired, so encouraged, so sure that this is yours. And the other stuff, you can work it out as you need to, right?
Yes. And that's how you can kind of know, like when something presents itself. How does it make you feel?
Mhm.
And I started to say, when I think of doing it, does it make me feel lighter and good, or does it make me feel heavy and bad? And if it makes me feel lighter and good, then I know, like, look at it a little further. If it
Mhm.
makes you feel bad and anxious, like I have anxiety, like if it makes me feel bad or heavy, then I know, no, it's not right for me.
Yeah. So that's the takeaway, folks. Anybody watching this is pay attention to how you feel.
Feel.
What's the experience you're looking to have?
Yes.
You
And is
know,
it your most loving choice? Because it may
Mhm.
seem like something, like when I was when I had sold my dental practice and I was working for this group and I was having this health issue, I could have said, no, I went to dental school all those years. I practiced 29 years. I'm still in my 50s. How can I retire? That's crazy. I got to figure out a way to make this work. But that was not the most loving choice for Dora, whose body was failing, who was getting anxiety and depression. Dora's most loving choices, I'm not even making that much money when it wasn't even my office and it was somebody else's office and them trying to tell me how to do things. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. This isn't the dentistry I wanted to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dora, this has been great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for your talents. Thank you for sharing your
Thank you.
inspiration with us today. And I want to thank anybody who's watching this, either live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group or on our YouTube channel. I have another show coming up tomorrow at 2:00 where I'll talk with an inner joy coach, Lori Piper, about stress makes you stupid. And there's a subtitle to that: Be Smart and Laugh. Isn't that a great title, though? Stress.
That is awesome. And it's true, so
It is
true.
true. It is true. So you can always find out what's coming up on the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show by going to my website, which is also in the text of this video, opwgc.com. Click on the On Purpose Woman magazine and then go to the table of contents and find this talk show. While you're there, be sure you check out all of our other things. And you can also see Dora's ad for Rupert Winston's Gotcha Day in the magazine. So thank you again for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show.
Thank you.